On this edition of Emeralds, Florida, we're coming to you from Orlando. And our first stop is an egg farm. Some local chefs call it the best in the area. We'll get a tour of it and whip up an omelet to try some of these eggs. Next, we're going to visit a chef who has been at the forefront of Orlando's farm-to-table movement. And we'll taste some of her signature dishes. And then, I get to catch up with Norman Van Aken, one of the top chefs in America and one of my best friends. We'll share a story or two, and then I'll get to try some of his amazing food. And that's all coming up on this edition of Emeralds, Florida. Our program today is from Orlando, located in the center of the state. Most people know Orlando for its theme parks, but there's also a pretty significant farm-to-table movement that's been going on here. Our first stop today is an egg farm, Lake Meadow Naturals.
Hey, Emerald.
Hey, Dale, how you doing?
I'm well.
Dale Vokert is the owner, and the farm is located in Ocoee, about 45 minutes outside of Orlando. He grew up on a poultry farm in Wisconsin and moved to Florida in 1980. Then in 2000, he was looking to slow down a little bit, so he bought this property, which at the time was a rundown horse farm. Dale also decided he wanted to raise a few chickens as a hobby.
My dad had bought me 100 chickens as a 4-H project in 1960.
I love it.
I bought 100 chickens from the same hatchery 42 years later and had them in a little horse stall.
You were supposed to be taking it easy at this point now.
Exactly.
I'm just going to raise a few chickens.
Raise a few chickens.
Get a few eggs.
Yeah.
Then Dale met Kathleen Blake, who at the time was a chef at a local hotel. She and her husband William now own the Rusty Spoon restaurant in Orlando.
When Dale came to me, he brought me a half a dozen eggs and he said, "What do you think?" And I said, "Well, could you do 30 dozen?" And so it started like that.
Then she wanted some more, so she wanted to make her pasta from them. And so I said, well, give me 6 months, we can raise more chickens and we can give you all you want.
He also began raising ducks for their eggs. And as his business grew, he began raising cows, goats, turkeys, and bees. He now has about 14,000 heritage breed chickens spread over 3 farms. So Rhode Island Reds,
That's
most of the production, right?
Yes.
Rhode Island Reds are a heritage breed dating back to the 1800s. These chickens are raised in a stress-free environment, fed a vegetarian diet, and have never been given any growth hormones or antibiotics. With 14,000 chickens, Dale gets close to 14,000 eggs a day, and they do all of their own processing and packaging of the eggs. It goes through the washer.
Goes through the washer, then a dryer. Then they come out here and it weighs every egg in grams, tells you what size it was, and then it kicks it out from super jumbo all the way down to pullet eggs. In a normal size plot, 70% will be large and extra large. When they first start to lay, they lay mostly mediums and smalls. Then as they get older, they get bigger.
Dale needed a way to sell the eggs the restaurants didn't want. So he opened up this farm store on the property that's open to the public to sell his excess inventory.
The store started out as a way to sell products that we produced for restaurants and hotels where we had sizes that the chickens laid, eggs that the restaurants didn't use. So the jumbos, the pullet eggs, the odds and ends.
I see you have some of your own ring bologna, kielbasa, chicken andouille sausage.
We've listened to our customers what they ask for, and they've asked for nitrate-free products, uncured products.
They also sell some of their own produce, as well as produce from other local farmers. We grabbed a bunch of ingredients and went into Dale's kitchen to cook up an omelet with a side salad. And folks, you really can't get any more farm to table than this.
Now, I hope people at home can see how the color of this egg yolk is just unbelievable.
From Dale's farm store, I use cheese, andouille sausage, and chives with the eggs. For the salad, I use some great local greens, peppers that Dale grows, and some local tomatoes. I gotta tell you, this was a lot of fun working with these kinds of ingredients.
Your eggs and this classic little salad. It doesn't get any fresher than that, my friend. Those eggs are awesome. Thanks for having us.
Pleasure.
Stay with us, folks. Next, you'll meet Kathleen Blake, the chef who helped push Dale Vokert into the egg farming business. And she and her husband are running a pretty awesome business of their own at the Rusty Spoon restaurant in Orlando. We'll be right back.
Emeralds, Florida is sponsored by Visit Florida, promoting tourism in the Sunshine State. Emeralds, Florida is sponsored by Visit Orlando. Orlando makes me smile.
Our next stop in Orlando is the Rusty Spoon restaurant. And the owners have been among the leaders in the farm-to-table movement here.
Hey, Chef Kathleen, how are you?
Good.
I'm so delighted to be here.
Happy to have you.
Thank you.
The Rusty Spoon is run by a husband and wife team, Kathleen and William Blake. It's located on Church Street in the downtown dining and entertainment district of the city.
So how did this all come about for you guys?
We were sitting around the table with some friends and our partners. My philosophy has always been farm to table, and talked about having a place that was casual and would change seasonally and utilize a lot of the local ingredients that I've been working with for the last 10 years here in Florida.
Chef Kathleen runs the kitchen, and William runs the front of the house and manages the business. They focus on getting the freshest ingredients possible, and they have great relationships with local farmers and fishermen. This bad boy was delivered while we were there. And they approach their wine, beer, and spirits program with the same attention they give to their food.
What we try to do is really try to keep everything with family-owned type wineries, small microbrews. We try to do craft cocktails, all of our own mixes, so everything's as fresh as possible.
And it matches with what we change seasonally too, because the menu changes quite a bit.
The decor at the Rusty Spoon illustrates the farm-to-table approach they have. The walls of the restaurant are covered with pictures of animals and the local farmers who raise them. In the kitchen, she has her daily menu board, where she lists the ingredients that are available and the dishes that she's making. Chef Kathleen was born and raised in Iowa, and she's serious when she's talking about farm-to-table. She prepared a number of dishes starting with an appetizer called Lake Meadow Eggs from our buddy Dale Volker.
Well, this is my homage to Dale, my love affair with Dale. We started with eggs, so I start every meal with an egg. We stuff these, the stuffing changes. It's not a traditional devil. Not a lot of fancy ingredients because the eggs pretty much speak for themselves.
He has some amazing eggs.
Yes, amazing birds.
And then we tried her butcher's plate with Scottish duck eggs, chicken liver mousse with their house peach jam, and boneless chicken thigh soaked in buttermilk and Vidalia onions. The mousse is Kathleen's favorite.
I can see why you will eat it morning, noon, and night.
Well, I'm standing, they often find me at the end of service standing in the cooler having my last bit of toast with chicken liver mousse. I could eat pounds of it.
Next, we move to a pasta dish with spinach, mushrooms, and pecorino.
My favorite noodle is a fat noodle. My grandmother used to make egg noodles, big egg noodles. And because we were from such a large family, we usually got 2 noodles. So that's why I make the fat noodle.
So good.
Good.
And then she brought out ham hocks with local black-eyed peas, corn, pepper relish, and rice.
I make ricotta cheese here in-house, and I save the whey. So we cook it in whey and beer, and it's a slow braise.
You have to understand, I am a huge fan of ham hocks. And how you've done this is so creative. Oh my God.
That's why I knew we'd get along. Ham
Oh
is my
my
favorite
God.
as well.
That is awesome. I'm so with you, sister.
We finished up with 2 of the desserts she prepares. The first one she calls grown-up s'mores.
Dark chocolate and then the marshmallow. We put marshmallow fluff on a lot of things here. A lot of booze as well. Pretzels, the salty, and then a little bit of graham cracker and salty caramel
That's
too.
insane.
This is the cake my mother made me for every birthday, and it's a buttermilk and chocolate cake. This is vanilla gelato, made locally here, and then a little whipped cream, and then we call this dirt. It's the leftover cookie crumbs when we make chocolate cookies or cake crumbs we toast.
Wow, that's incredible. Really,
She'll be happy to
really
know that.
incredible.
Cheers.
I want to thank you for your hospitality, and it was a pleasure spending the day with you and your husband. Continued success.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Appreciate that. Cheers.
Stay with us, folks. Next, I'm going to catch up with an old friend and a great chef, Norman Van Aken. We'll be right back.
Emeralds, Florida is sponsored by the Florida Restaurant and Lodging Association. Our mission is to protect, educate, and promote Florida's hospitality industry.
I'm really excited about this next stop because I get to see an old friend who has one of the best restaurants in Orlando. Norman Van Aken is the owner of Norman's at the Ritz-Carlton Orlando.
How you doing, brother?
Welcome to Norman's, man.
Oh, I'm so delighted to be here.
Norman is one of my oldest friends in the restaurant business. And in addition to being a great friend, he's also one of the most respected chefs in America. He's recognized as the father of New World cuisine, a celebration of Caribbean, Asian, African, and American flavors. 10 years ago, you decided to come to Orlando. Tell me about that.
One crazy night in the restaurant, the original Norman's restaurant in Miami, we were cranking. And a guy walks into the kitchen. He goes, listen, we're opening up a new Ritz-Carlton in Orlando. We'd like to discuss you to bring in your restaurant to Orlando. Would you think about it? I thought he'd been overserved by our bartender at that moment.
Right.
And, but no, he called me the next day and said, I was serious. Would you come up here and take a look? To partner with the Ritz-Carlton, I mean, who would not want to do that?
And this is a beautiful restaurant at a great property. On the menu, you find some of the dishes that Norman has created over the years. And there are dishes he continues to develop even today.
It's interesting because people, when you get to this point, you can't escape some of your dishes that are your signature dishes. They are your hit songs.
Like many people in the restaurant business, Norman's got a lot of interesting stories to tell. He recently wrote a book titled No Experience Necessary, and it's a great read, folks. And his culinary journey really began when he arrived in Key West in the early 1970s.
And it was like I was somewhere in the Caribbean. I was somewhere far away and away from winter and away from the dark Illinois snow fields and all of the things that I grew up with. And I just felt like this is my place. Right away, I just knew it.
It was in Key West where he met Janet, his wife of 40 years, and it's where they raised their son, Justin. As he worked his way through a number of different restaurants in the 1970s and early 80s, his culinary career started to take shape.
All the influences that I would get as a young person, totally unmolded by cuisine at this point, were coming from the Cuban, Bahamian, Haitian, humble places. Sometimes I was lucky enough to get in somebody's house for a home-cooked meal. But I'm having picadillo, black beans, rice, pork Havana, as this, very impressionable person who's just barely begun to cook.
He started bringing those New World influences to the jobs he had cooking in Key West. He was also paying attention to what was going on with American cuisine around the country.
I saw what you were doing in New Orleans, and along with Paul Prudhomme, Mark Miller and Dean Fearing, and I saw Alice Waters and Jeremiah Tower, what they were doing with California cuisine, as well as Wolfgang. I said, well, I can either go join somebody in doing something like that, or I can start it here in Florida. And I flashed on the fact that I should not be cooking food from all over the planet for a while. I should center on Key West.
And that's exactly what he did. Over time, his style of cooking started to get recognized, and eventually it became known as New World cuisine.
I was loving the flavors of Florida, loving the flavors of Key West, cooking, and then people went, wow, this guy's doing things with black beans and conch chowder and plantains. And so I got people paying attention to me as a cook. And that was kind of fun.
Along the way, there were a number of restaurants, cookbooks, and the honors that came along with his accomplishments. In October of 2013, Norman's at the Ritz-Carlton Orlando celebrated its 10th anniversary. Come on, here we go! I was honored to be there with some great chefs like Dean Fearing and Jeremiah Tower, and we worked alongside some of the top chefs in the Orlando area. One of the chefs who was scheduled to attend was our longtime friend and brother, Charlie Trotter from Chicago. He couldn't make it due to a health issue, which was more serious than we thought. In November of 2013, Charlie passed away after suffering a stroke. We lost a great chef and a great friend. Norman, Charlie, and I got to know each other early in our careers, and it was a bond that lasted as we all grew up in the restaurant industry. We were brothers in this big culinary playground as we all found our way in the business. And in addition to the friendship, the great thing was that we were always eager to learn from each other. We used to send menus.
I know, this is
You
true.
would send your nightly menu to me. I would send it to you. We would send it to Charlie.
And we were so inspired by that camaraderie, the brotherhood of chefs. I'd see your menus coming through the fax machine. I'd take them to my waiters. They were a little bit like, why are you reading me somebody else's menu? But they realized that, the love that was there, the passion that was there was
inspiration.
something. Yeah.
Cheers, brother.
Cheers, Em.
Can't wait to eat your food.
Can't wait to serve it to you.
When we come back, Norman's gonna serve up some of those hit songs he mentioned, and this is gonna be awesome. We'll be right back.
The Florida Office of Film and Entertainment is proud to partner with Emeralds, Florida, and support the entertainment industry in the Sunshine State.
So here we are, buddy.
Yeah, man. Walking the line again.
Walking the line. Norman's got a great staff here at his restaurant. His chef, Juan Rendon, served up some great dishes. The first was a conch chowder, but not the Key West version Norman's made for a long time.
This is the conch chowder, but Brazilian style with coconut milk and a coconut cloud. But it's got all the vegetables of a chowder, the bell pepper, potatoes, you gotta have potatoes in a chowder, cracked pounded conch. We start with lots of clams and mussels to make the broth. So you want spice, richness, acidity, all of those things.
The textures are unbelievable.
The cooks at home and the chefs at home should realize that for us, sometimes dishes mature over time.
I agree with that.
Because as cooks in the world that we're in, we're not here to feed people. We're here to blow their minds.
Right. I'm with you, brother.
The next appetizer was crispy fried shrimp stuffed with yuca, an ingredient not many people were familiar with when Norman first made this dish.
Sometimes people think it's pronounced yucca, but it's potato-like thing, and they'd eat it with mojo. And one day in the kitchen, there was shrimp by the cutting board and yucca by the cutting board, and I thought, what if I mashed up the yucca and stuck it inside of shrimp? And I had sort of the Trojan horse, the way to get yucca to be loved by many. This is crispy fried shrimp, but then we did it with the mojo, the yucca, and homemade tartar sauce made with our house pickled habanero or Scotch bonnet chilies. And that's a slaw that comes to us from Nicaragua with cabbage. And that's to provide some kind of light, crispy, acid salad nature.
Unbelievable.
And then we got to the entree. And this is Norman's take on the pork Havana he used to have in South Florida's Cuban restaurants. It's made with 3 sauces: a smoky plantain crema, a pork reduction sauce, and a mole.
So overnight, we do a marinade with sour orange, olive oil, onion, cumin, garlic, black pepper, classic Cuban marinade. Then the dish begins to dance around the Caribbean a little bit. A black bean and corn salsa.
Yeah, but there's another thing going on under here.
The Mexican thing, that's our 21st century mole, which again dances around the entirety of the countries that form New World cuisine. And then we always do a little bit of citrus. You know, the guys I work with, a lot of them, they're from these countries that we're talking about, but they've never seen the fusion of it like this. They love seeing their food, but through another way. And I'm excited because they always teach me new things.
Unbelievable.
Yeah? You like it?
I got like a dance party going on in my mouth right now.
That's exactly where I want it to be.
The last dish was dessert.
I reached into your city and your culture and took Bananas Foster through the lens of South Florida and further with my Havana bananas. Same idea. You make that kind of emulsion with the butter and the jelly and the spices. Only difference is that I use ancho chilies infused into the jelly and deglazed with dark rum, and then macadamia nut ice cream, macadamia nuts, a little bit of brittle here. You know, Bananas Foster is a classic, so we just did our version.
It don't get any better than that. Thank you for your brotherhood, friendship, love, food,
Forever.
cuisine, forever, my friend.
Thank you, Emerald.